Okay, okay. That's fine.
Okay, so good afternoon. So yeah, welcome to class. So today we're getting into doing stuff on Flutter. But we're going to start today with
Okay.
by talking about state management. We're going to talk about state management in today's class, and then part of what we're going to be doing, moving forward, we're going to be building an application, right? And we're going to use this application to understand state management using GetX. Yeah, so that's the state management. So we're going to be using GetX. So we're going to use this application to understand GetX. We'll first of all talk about
Ah,
state management.
network is really
Right.
bad though. Like I didn't. Sorry. Could you?
Okay, can you hear me now? Oh, are you sure it's from my end? I don't actually think it's from my end though. Hello, Collins, are you there? Okay, so I think it's actually from your end. Okay, so I'll just move on, right? So we're going to talk about state management using GetX, right? We're going to talk about state management using GetX. Okay, so let's start this way, right? Now, you have a light bulb at home, right? Um, and then you have a button that when you click on, it kind of turns on the light. So, but what happens actually when you hit that button on on your wall socket or whatever to turn on, the light? What actually happens, right? So the thing is this, you're basically changing the state of that button from off to on. You understand? And vice versa. That's basically what you're actually what's doing. So it's based, what that does is that it now triggers the electricity, which either turns the bulb on or turns it off. Right? So now think from a software developer's point of view. So when the bulb turns on, right, the UI of the bulb changes from a non-illuminated state to an illuminated state, right? Okay, so let me run that back again, right? So I was
All right.
basically talking about a bulb, a light bulb. You have a light bulb at home, right? And then you get to switch the button, you get to click a button and it switches your bulb on and off, right? And vice versa. So when you're basically changing the state of that button from off to on. So when you do that, the electricity is actually passed, which it triggers electricity, which will turn the bulb either off or on, right? So from a developer perspective, when that bulb turns on, the UI of the bulb changes from a non-illuminated state to an illuminated state. Though physically you're not actually seeing the bulb being recreated or rebuilt from a UI perspective, right? But the UI would
Yeah.
actually build from scratch if that was the situation on a mobile software with what we call a reactive state management, which basically
Yeah.
that is what Flutter is about, right? Which of course I expect you to know that. But so if you're for someone who is actually coming from, like I started with native mobile app development, Android, right? You need to,
Yeah.
so if you're coming from an Android framework, you need to start thinking about mobile application development from a whole new perspective, because the Android and let's say the iOS framework, they are actually what we call imperative frameworks. But the underhand Flutter is actually a declarative framework. And what that means is this: it's okay to build the UI from scratch instead of modifying, a small part of it, because Flutter is actually very efficient when it comes to rebuilding, your UI when a widget actually changes its state. So
Yeah.
The declarative style of UI programming, it actually has its own benefits, right? It means that you can actually write your code, the code of any UI once, and you can describe how it will
Yeah.
look in any state. And that's actually that, right? So as we're going to be digging deep, we're going to deep dig into Flutter programming. There'll be times when, you need to share your data and state between screens across your whole application. And that's when you actually need
Yeah.
state management to handle that, right? To help you build applications fast and efficiently. So
Okay.
state management is actually a very complex topic of discussion, right? Maybe one of these we'll just take time and talk theoretically about it, but let's do more of practical stuff, right? So there are
Yeah.
many state management libraries. Of course, you should know Provider,
Yeah.
you have Riverport, you have likes of Block, right? But in KodeCamp, in this training, we're going to discuss a more simplified state management solution for Flutter development. And the interesting thing about it is that it does not require
Which one?
context
Sorry.
for most of its features, and that is GetX.
Which one?
GetX. So we're going to be using GetX state management. So don't worry, you get to know what it is
Okay.
and
Get it.
everything. Yeah. So the thing is, GetX is not only a state management library. It's not just only a state management library. It's actually a framework that combines route management and dependency injection. I don't believe you have heard about it before, but I'll just talk about it briefly, right? When we talk about state management and
Dependency injection. Yeah. I have.
yeah, good. So GetX, there are actually what we call, there are three pillars of GetX. One is state management. Now, GetX has two state managers. One is a simple state manager that is used with a function called the get builder. I'm actually going to demo, we'll build that. And the other one is a reactive state manager that's used with this in GetX, or what we call OBX. OBX is an observable state, observable variable. You get to create observable variables that observes, listens to changes. We'll talk about that more detailed. But that's one of the pillar of GetX, right? The second pillar of GetX is route management, right? So whether navigating between screens or whether you're navigating between screens or you're showing snack bars, right? Or maybe you want to pop a dialog box or you want to add bottom sheets without the use of context, GetX just has you covered, right?
Sorry. My network butted me out. Like I just rejoined like not long ago now.
Okay,
Sorry.
where did you lose me?
At the part where you were talking about dependency injection with GetX, yes, and I said I know a bit about it,
Okay,
but not like
okay, good. Okay, well, that's fine. Let me just take a step back a bit. So I was talking about the three pillars of GetX, right? And they are state
yes.
management, route management, and dependency management. These are the three pillars of
Okay.
GetX. Now, the first one, which is state management, GetX actually has two state managers. One is called a simple state manager, and it actually uses what we call a get builder function. I'll demo all those things. It's part of what we're going to build. The other one is a reactive state manager, and it uses GetX, or what we call OBX, which is an observable way of listening to changes and what rebuilding the UI based on the changes. We'll talk about that in detail. I'm just
Okay.
introducing this stuff. Now, the second pillar is route management. So whether you want to show a snack bar, you want to pop a dialogue, you want to move from one screen to another, you want to add bottom sheets without the use of context, GetX has you covered. Like, don't worry, GetX has you covered. So I'm not going to really talk in details. We'll just show it, right, and explain how
Okay.
it works.
Sorry, I wanted to ask you, the
Yeah.
GetX like the routing manager, like does it provide like an alternative solution to routing entirely, or it just builds on top of the ones that are already there for plug?
So the thing is, just like the default one you use, which is your navigator.pop and all this stuff, right? You basically
Yes.
have to use context, but GetX actually has its own route management,
Okay,
right?
entirely different from the navigator.
It's different from the navigator. You don't even have to use navigator.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to use
All right.
navigator. We'll look at all those things. Then the last pillar is the dependency management, right? So
Mm,
of course you understand dependency injection, right? Now GetX actually does
yeah.
it, very, very well using what we call controllers. Now, of course, you've worked with controllers before. I want to believe that. So with just a single line of code, right? You know,
Mm,
you can access something from the view without using trying to inherit a widget or a context, right? Basically, what
yeah.
you just do is just instantiate a class within a class. But with GetX, what you're doing is that you're instantiating with the get instance, and that will make whatever class available throughout your application. Some of these things, once you start writing the code, it will make a lot of sense. So there are a few other things that
Okay.
GetX actually provides, though internalization, where you want to translate, language support. It actually has that inbuilt. It comes with it. Validation, email and password validations. GetX covers that. You don't need to install any separate validation package. Storage.
Okay.
GetX also it provides a kind of like a fast, light, synchronous key value memory backup that is entirely written
Mm,
in that, right, for storage.
mm,
It has its own themes. You can switch between light and dark themes with GetX simply, like very easy. And of course, it has a responsive view feature. Like if you are building an application for different screen sizes, all you just
yeah.
need to do is just extend with get view. And you can just quickly develop your UI, and it will be responsive for both desktop, for tablet, for phone, for even watches with get view. And we'll do that. We'll use these things. We'll actually use it. So
Okay.
we're going to be building an application. Of course, we'll not build everything today. We'll take it step by step.
Yeah.
But the application is called Store. I just called it Storzy. It's just a name, but it's a store, right? Yeah, so
Okay. Yes.
I was thinking of a name to use. I just said, okay, let me just call it Storzy. So you can call it whatever you need. So I've just created a demo, just a blank stuff, right? This is a default stuff. Now you can see
Okay.
I just ran this here. So let me just state this. This is not an emulator per se.
Mm,
Uh hold on, good. I don't know. I think, can you actually see? Okay, hold on. I don't think I'm sharing that. So let me share my whole screen. Yeah. So you should be able to see this. Okay. So I don't know if you should be able to see this. My
yes, I can see the
So
little
this is not
window there.
my emulator, rather. This is actually my phone. This is my physical device,
Oh,
actually.
okay,
Right?
you're sharing the screen to your laptop.
Good. So I'll drop a resource that will help you so with this, you don't need to download an emulator, get to, and that all those heavy stuff. You can always test right there, and kind of just window or mirror your phone. This is my actual phone.
Okay.
That's why you can see WhatsApp icon and all those stuff. Like if I'm to just do this, this is my actual phone.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
All right, I get.
yeah. So I will drop a resource that can help you to actually do this also on the distance. So this actually works. So we're going to basically if time permits, we're just going to do some basic setups, right, to our
Mm,
application. Now, the way I'm going to build this, I'm going to build this in such a way that you guys will take this code and then implement best practices. I'll try to minimize how I scatter my project structure. But I'll be
mm,
doing some things that you guys will be the one to correct it. And that would actually help you to also learn and practice best, especially when it comes to project structure. So,
oh,
well, by the way, I'll push this code. So for whatever we do, I'm going to push it to GitHub. So I think I changed this early. So currently I'm on, so let me see if I have any changes here. Okay, so I don't have any changes. So let me create a new branch. Great. Let me check out a new branch. I hope you're very familiar with Git.
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with it. Not very
Ok-
familiar, but like yeah,
Okay,
I
so
know
let
my
me
way
just
around.
check out a new branch. Let's call it setup. Okay, so
Okay.
what we just want to do now, let's see how much setup we can actually just, do. So let's see. Let's create some folders, right? In our lib folder. I'll create, so I want to do some basic setups for what things I'm going to need. Um,
Mm.
okay, we'll have controllers. In the end, you guys will
Okay. For the
figure out
backend.
in the end, you guys will figure out how to best arrange this when you're pushing your code. I'm going to have models because we're
Mm.
building a store. So I'm going to have models. I'm going to have the screens. I'll just say screens. You guys will you
Okay.
apply feature first when you're now refactoring. So we'll need services, right? And I think
Yeah.
now I need to be able to create some widget components. So I'll just have widgets, right? So I think I can just start with this. Now let me create if this one I'll create it as a file. Later you guys should. So let me just say theme, because one of the things we're going to implement in this app is how to switch from dark theme to light theme,
Mm.
and all those stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else can we use? Okay, so this is my main dot dart. So I don't like this. Of course, I don't want to have all these crazy things here. But first of all, when you want to use what's it called? You have to use the package. So I'm going to go to my
Okay.
prospect.yaml, right? And I'm
Mm.
going to get I'm going to get. Well, that's the name, actually.
Yes.
So
Pop
I'll
get.
just say yeah. So you can actually just use you do pop get, or you can just add it manually. So I can just say get. Now, so from a versioning perspective, I need to get my okay. So this is if you know the. So sometimes this is what I do. Sometimes if you do not
Mm.
know the actual version, right?
Mm.
And maybe you put in something, you can delete. It works a lot of times. And I'll just hit Control Space. Control Space will now search
Wow.
and give me the latest.
Wow.
Okay.
Do you have to be
So I
online
need
to do that?
get. Well, it's going to get this data. Of course, when you're getting libraries, of course, you need data for that,
Okay. Okay.
but it doesn't consume much data. So
Okay.
we're also going to need get storage.
Mm.
So this is just a trick. I'll just put a number. It's just a trick that I just discovered by mistake, right? Then I'll just, kind of delete, no, and then
Yeah.
control space, and then I get the latest. So it's just a trick. So one last thing we're going to need is I just want us to set up everything equatable. I will use that. So if you, by default, it will just show you this if you don't type anything, but trust me, none of it is correct. For example, if I select this, it's not correct. It's actually a very
Mhm.
lower range, right? So
Yeah.
let's do our trick again. Um, then control space, and then yeah. Okay, so it will import that. Let's see. We have our lanes and all this. Okay, everything is for now. We don't need anything else for now. So I'm gonna just close this out.
Mm.
So like I said, I'm going to kind of, so my main, right? This my main on that is too busy, right? It's too
Okay.
busy. And I actually don't want it. I want the main dot that to be as very light as possible, right? So what I'm going to do is, now remember here, your main dot app has this run app. This is more like the what they call it. It's usually
Entry
called
points.
entry points. Thank you very much, right? So um I'm going to just make things a bit short. So first of all, when you're using get, right, you have to, the my app here, which could be anything, you don't just use, you can see here, this uses material app. But when we're using the
Mm.
GetX, in GetX, which we have to change it to get material app. Okay, so before then, let's clear out these things. Let's clear out these things. Okay. In fact, I don't want all these things. I actually don't. Let's just so let me. I'm going to delete the whole of this my home page. Where does it stop? Let's see. Okay. I hope I've not overshot it. So let's see. So I'm going to create, instead of this is my home page, right? Because when we call run app, we need to actually, of course, pass in a widget, right? Which is what this my home page was. But I will not call it, I'm going to create a class called home.dart, right? And I want this home.dart is just going to be, so remember I mentioned something about get view, such that we use get
Mm.
view so that we can have a responsive UI that can
Yeah.
match whatever screen size. So I'm going to just say class home extends get view, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's missing some concrete stuff. So I'll just click here. You can just come to quick fix. So I need to create one missing variable, and it overrides that for me. So let's just clear this out. So of course,
Sorry.
right.
The get view just like a widget.
Yes, one thing they'll tell you in Flutter is that everything is a widget. So
Oh, okay.
everything in Flutter is a widget. So this is
Oh,
a function, right? And it's a function that returns a widget, right? So I'll say
yeah.
return. So I'm going to just do a very simple stuff. So let's just say return a scaffold, right? So background color, well, that's why we need to do some settings. But for now, colors, I'll change this colors dot red for now. Then give it an app bar. Samuel, your hand is raised. Go ahead. So our app bar will have a title, which will take a text. So let's call the text store Z, just like store Z. Now I'm going to, So let me just stop here, right? Let me stop here. I don't want to, because I want to do some setups. So let's just stop here. And then I'll come back to my main order. So here, this run app that is calling this my app, right, is going to return a get material app. Like I said, remember we're using GetX. So get material app. So yeah, so I have to import the get package. So it's not get.navigation. So we're importing this get slash get.dat, right? Now for the home, the widgets, right? It will be our home widget. So I'll import that. Okay, so I think maybe I imported the wrong thing. Let's okay. Okay, so I think so let's what's his name? Samuel, your hand was raised. Go ahead and ask I said you should go ahead and ask your question. So that's basically that. Just close that out. So we don't need this what's it called? Just going to still use StoreZ. Now, so in our get material app, right? So let me just so this is the interesting thing about you know this is the interesting thing about Flutter. So all I'll just do is I'll just do Control S. So I think I'll just, yeah, Control S actually will kind of just rebuild. Just think of it like like they say, hot reload, right? Hot reload. So you can see our red background is from the home, because we're returning the get material app that has a home widget, right? And our home here, we have just a scaffold that has a background color of what? Red, right? Okay, so let me just kind of resize this so that this guy will always be here. Samuel, ask your question. Unmute and ask your question. You've been raising your hand, you know, quite some time now. Unmute and ask your question. Collins, can you hear me? Let me know if it's from my end.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I think it's Samuel, I can't hear you, so it's probably from your end. So where are we? So back to our main.dart, right? So we changed to get material app since we're using GetX. Okay. Now, there are a lot of things that GetX provides, right? There are a lot of things that GetX provides. We have the likes of it has bindings. I'll talk about bindings. It has you can change the theme, dark theme, like just like you have theme here. You actually have the sorry. So the theme here by default is dark, is a light theme. It has an option for dark theme also, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create themes. It also has routing. Remember, we talked about route management, right? We're going to implement that also, right? It has what we call bindings. We're going to implement that also. So just one thing here before I move out of this place. So debug show checked banner. So I'm going to just pass in false. We actually don't need to see that. So Control S will align the code for us, and then that goes out. So yeah, on the app theme, right, which is, so let's do some basic setups, right? Which these are the things you should do before you start your UI. Set up your colors, set up your theme, and all those things before you start, right? So the first thing I'm going to do, right, is to create a list of colors. Now, I just have something on my notepad here so that I don't take a lot of time, right? So first of all, I'll go to my constants. I'll create a new file and I'll call it colors, colors.dart, right? Now this class, I'll call it app colors. So these are the colors we're going to use on this application. We may make adjustment as we go. And then I'm just going to do something like this so that I can kind of assess, the properties here without necessarily creating an instance. That's what this actually does. So let me just get this from my notepad. Okay, someone said he was asking what's the function of getView. So we use getView, like I said, in GetX to build responsive applications. So with getView, right, what we're actually working on it will be responsive on a web, to be responsive on a tab, it will also be responsive on even a watch, right? So let me just paste this here. So I have dark theme. So color, I'm actually going to import the material, this. So okay, I'm missing this here. So these colors will be for our dark theme. This will be for our white theme, right? Can adjust the colors later. So now I can now go to my app theme since I have colors. Now, how do we set up a theme, right? So first of all, let me set up for light theme. So I'm going to create a class called themes. You can name it anything, right? And I'm going to create an instance. So I'll call this light theme. So it will take from the theme data. Sorry, you can still see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, my screen was shaking here. Okay, so it will take from the theme data. So I'm going to change the color scheme. So the color scheme, I'll just say can I use color scheme dot light. We want to change the light. We want this to be for the color scheme for a light mode, so which is this one. Okay, so now we are in light mode. So in the light mode, we want our primary color to be, now I'm going to use that my class app colors, right? I think that's what I called it. Yes, that's what I called it, yeah. App colors dot, I have a color called lavender, right? So that's in light mode, I want the primary color to be that, right? Then the color on the primary, which is the text, right, should be just straight on black. So colors.black. Then secondary color, I think I have a blue. Yes. Okay. And then the color on the secondary. So there are a lot of things you can do here in light mode. You can change a lot of things, right? So it's all, we're just going to keep things a bit simple. So the color on we're going to use this space cadet. And then the background, please pardon me, but we're going to use a baby pink. I know it's feminine. Okay, so these are just this is just what we want to use for for the light theme, right? There are a lot of other things you can do. So I'm just going to duplicate this and then let's now set up theme for dark. So dark theme, change this to dark. And then I'll just, so for the primary, let's kind of just reverse things. I don't need, so the color on primary can still be black. So now instead of having black here, right? I'll just take this out. Now on primary, right? just take this out. And what will happen is that because I took it out, now already by default, when you switch to dark mode, black becomes white. You understand? Normal.
Yeah.
So the fact that I was here basically what I was doing was overriding it. That you know what, in the light theme, I'm just forcefully doing it, but I can now because of the color I'm using, right? So, but if I don't put if I don't declare an on primary, by default it's going to be white, right? So or secondary, just secondary. Um, I have this body color, right? This kind of brownish stuff. And on secondary, I'll leave the on secondary and then put the background. Let me just play around. So like I didn't really take time to start thinking, looking for serious color stuff. So this is our theme, right? We're done with our theme. So I'm going to go to, what we'll now do is let's go to our main and implement this theme. So in our main.dart, in our get material app widget, so instead of, so for this theme, I'm now going to say themes, which is the class I created. I think it's theme dot light theme. So let me make sure that the right thing is imported. So I'll just theme. So that's not it. So let me confirm. Okay, themes. I call the themes. So themes, right? Good. Themes dot light theme. So that's the theme that will now be passed, right? And then it the get material app has the dark, which I'll just say themes dot what dark theme.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is just basic stuff. So let me control S and I think everything should still be fine here. Okay. So what else do we need to set up? So remember we're building a store. So let's add some other things. Now, part of this what we are going to be building in our store, it's just going to be a simple store, right? You should be able to add reviews and see reviews. You should be able to add followers and see the number of followers. Now, I'm going to just create a constant variable, like a key that we're going to use. So this is more like setup. Of course, sometimes most of these things is you need to know what your application involves. So I'm just going to say keys.dart, and then const reviews key is just a string that we're going to use later, but it doesn't change. At least, yeah, const follower key, follower key. Okay. Okay, so yeah. So I think those two for now, those two, they're okay for now. Okay, they're okay for now. So now this theme that we have created, right? We need to be able to switch between them, right? We need to be able to switch between them. So I'm going to do something. Something I actually started doing a bit fairly recently. I'm going to create a theme controller. I want to control the themes. I'm going to create a theme controller class. Okay, this should be underscore. Sorry. So controller is double L. So, and I'll use this to, we talked about controllers when we're introducing GetX. So I'm going to say class theme controller. So this is basically where we're just going to handle our logic, because logic should not be done in the UI. So it will now extend, the GetX has a controller called GetX controller. which we're going to use. So the GetX controller it's just an abstract class. It has a lot of things inside, but this is basically our state manager. So now remember I said we're going to use storage. So get storage is just think of it like your local storage, shared preference kind of thing, right? So let me create you first of all going to initialize this get storage. I think
Sorry,
storage.
sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
The get storage, does it like persist between uploads? Like
Yes,
it persists on the device.
yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
So let's import this. Then key. So let's have a key called is dark mode. So we want to be able to control the theme. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call there's this thing called theme mode, right? It's from the material app, right? The Flutter, the material class in Flutter, right? It describes which theme will be used by material app. So theme mode, I'm going to say get theme. Right? And I'm going to, so before then, let me create a Boolean variable or a function rather called load theme. And all this load theme is going to do is it will call the get from the block storage, it will write. So so this is key value pairs, right? So basically what we're doing is we want to write a value, we want to store a value in the storage, right? So sorry, this okay, load will read, not write.
Yes.
Load will read, and then it will read based on the key, right? Now, what we're going to do here is look, we're going to say, okay, fine, hey, read the key. But if for some reason it's not there, pass false. So this is more like a one-line function kind of thing,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So this is
The
just
read
a
needs to
function
return the null.
expression. Yeah, so it will
Sorry.
return false if the key, if this key does not exist, it will return false. We are basically checking. So this load theme will first of all check if there is a key. That's what this function is doing. It's checking if that key actually exists. So it will return true if the key exists, else it will return false if it doesn't exist. That's what this function expression is, right? So what is this saying? Function can't be try removing the name or move the function expression to a declaration statement. Okay, don't worry. I'll sort that out. Right. Another thing I would want to do, I need to save theme because we want a situation whereby if you're in that dark mode, it will save that you're in dark mode and you'll be in dark mode all through. If you're in light mode, it will save that you're in light mode to be in light mode all through, and it can always check between them. So we want to save a theme. So first of all, we'll take our is dark mode. We'll just pass a variable there. We want to just check. So whenever we're calling save theme, it will first of all check if it is dark mode, right? And if it is that, we'll now say box dot right, and then pass in a key. The key we're passing here is, so the underscore key there is actually a private variable, and that will pass in is dark mode, right? Then true. Close this out. We have a function, we can change theme also. Can change theme also. Now to change a theme, you're basically passing a theme. So we'll get from our theme data class. It imports this, yes, from the material library. And then I will now use get, right? Get this thing, it has a method called change theme, and then I'll just pass in this theme here. So whatever theme you pass in here, Get will change the theme and pass that in. So one last one is we can change the, let's say, change theme mode, right? And then you call the theme mode material class. And how do we do it? Still with Get. Get just makes it easy. Don't even need context. Change theme mode and pass in the theme mode, and we're done. Okay, so now that we have this, so let's get the theme, right? We want to get the actual theme mode here. How can we get that? What we can do is we'll call our load theme, right? So if our load theme is theme mode dot dark, right? Yeah. Okay, so theme mode dot light. Okay, so what are we doing here basically, right? So what we're doing is we want to get the theme mode. That's basically what we want to do. We want to get the theme, and that theme is of type theme mode. So what we are doing is we are loading the theme. If it is dark mode, if the theme mode is dark mode, we load the theme. Else, just pass in light mode. That's basically what all this is. That's basically what this function does. If the theme mode, load the theme if it is dark, else just make it light mode, right? Yeah, so this is just our controller, and we're going to make use of it, right? We're going to make use of our theme controller. So this is how we're going to make use of it. And I'll use this to also explain the dependency injection. Now, in our main class, we want to be able to now access this, use this theme controller, right? We want to inject theme controller in our main, in our main.dat, so that we can actually make use of it. So how do we do that in GetX? We do it like you would want to create an instance of anything, right? So I can just say final theme controller. I'm just calling that's just the name I'm putting. And then we use the get, right? It has a function called get.put. So what does this get.put do? You can see this here. It injects an instance in memory. That's what it does. So it now injects, what we want to do now is to inject a dependency. A dependency could be anything, right? So it's to inject this instance in memory. So we want to inject the theme controller in memory so that we can always have access to it. Okay, that's basically what this is. So the dependency here is the instance that you want to actually inject, right? So what we want to inject here is the theme controller, right? The theme controller. And then we'll have to import it, right? Add this. So let's see, method can't be invoked in const operations. So well, let me take out this const here, and then good, and then take this out here. No, sorry. Okay, so now what can we use this theme controller to do? The theme controller is for the theme mode. So we have a theme mode here. I'll just pass theme controller dot, it will now give me access to this theme here. Remember, what is this theme here? This theme is actually, we're getting the theme mode. What mode are we in? Are we on dark mode or are we on light mode? whichever one it is. If it's dark mode, pass it here. If it's light mode, pass it here. And that is what we did here. So so you see, this is actually this the function we are exposing. This is the this thing we are exposing to be used. It cannot access this because it's a private variable. Private, you understand? Private. We do not want to be able to change that outside, right? So that's that. So what does it do? It's just basically going to write to the storage. So if it is a dark mode, it will write to the storage. The storage will now store that, knowing that this the state of this application is in what dark mode. It will store it even when you leave the application and you come back, right? It's still holding that as what dark mode until you change it to light mode. It will rewrite it and so on. Okay. So let's see what other thing can we set up. We are all about setting up right now. Um, so let's see if we can, let's get to models, right? At least so that we'll start having an idea of what we want to do. So where's my models? So let's create a class food.dart, right? So food, let's add menu and reviews. Okay, so for the food, right? What is the model of a food? What does a food class actually listen? So a food has an ID, it has a name, it has calories, and it has a price. Okay, so now we're going to create an instance, which is basically just going to be a constructor. So food, wow, and then so I'm going to now say, okay, I have to pass in the word required. I want to believe you guys have done this. So basically what this means is that we want to now create an instance of this class. The what's it called? These fields are required. Like you must pass them in, right? You must pass them in. Now, but yeah, there may be cases where some things are not required, meaning that they are nullable. They can actually return a null. How do we do that? I could just say string, for example, calories is not, sorry, I think to close this. Calories could be null. It's possible that they didn't put in a calorie. I could just do this and then take out the required here. So it means that I can create an instance of this food class and not pass in the calories and I'll be fine. Okay, but we want to pass it in. Okay, so that's one model. Menu. Okay. So what does a menu have? A menu. So string name. A menu has a name. Let's say a menu has a color. And let's say a menu has a location. Right? Because what is served in one location may not be served in another. Right? So yeah. So menu. So this one, I'm going to do something different here so you can see that there are different ways to do it. Here, I can now, instead of required, right, I can now actually give it a default value, right, and it will still be fine. So color, I could say red, and then location, I could say, let me just say Nigeria. Okay, so that's our menu model. Now, how about reviews model? What and what are the properties of a review? So our reviews is going to be a bit tricky. Oh, was I? Hold on. Did I duplicate stuff? Oh. Food is in reviews. Okay. Sorry, let me send it down here. Okay, so menu is going to be the store, this what's it called? The what was I saying? The reviews rather, yes, thank you. So the reviews is going to be a bit different, right? We're going to do that a bit differently. Now, this is where we're going to just use equatable, just more from it, just like a JSON stuff, right? So it's not something that you should, kind of sweat it. So let me just show you what that does. But just okay, okay. Okay, so well, let's just do that. So let's call it store reviews. So people who will be reviewing our stuff. Now I want you to extend the extends equatable. Now the equatable is actually what you can see that is a base class to facilitate, the operator and the hash code overrides, right? And we're going to actually need this, and I'll tell us why. So let me just put this, and then we have to implement or override rather. Yeah. Mhm. Sorry. Okay, so for then, let me take this down. So a review should just have, just for now, just two simple things, name and review. Now I'm going to do, because I actually don't want to be rebuilding this. So I can actually just make it a constant. And then, so is it required that you give me the name? And it is also required that you give me the review. Now, so we want to be able to, now we're going to be playing around with JSON, right? Data in a JSON format. So we want to be able to create a copy. We want to be able to create a copy. So this is how we're going to do it. Okay, sorry, my screen is actually shaking on this end. Okay. So I'm going to say store reviews, copy with. So we'll get the string name. So here I'm going to make it nullable because it's possible that we don't actually have a value there. So think of it like we are just trying to make sure that if there's no value, there's an empty stuff. So copy with this guy, store reviews. So such that whatever you get, right, the name, if there is a name that exists, it will what? Update it, right? But if there is none, so if there's a name already, to be the name, but if you're bringing in a new name, it will reassign. So I'll say to be this dot name. So it's either it maintains what was already there or it overrides it. So this will be review. This dot review. Okay, so Yeah, we a function body must be provided. Let's see. Am I missing anything? Okay. Don't worry. So remember our factory when we talked about factory. So we're going to create a factory class called
Sorry,
story.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I think why he's telling you that function body is provided is that there is no semicolon after the constructor.
Um,
The
after the
constructor, the constructor
oh,
line,
oh
there's no semicolon ending
no,
it.
no. Yeah. So here after this, no, it's not that now. Let's see.
The constructor line, the const store reviews require this dot name. The constructor
Okay,
line of
this.
yes,
Oh,
yes.
thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for spotting that. Okay, so let's create a factory constructor that will convert this from JSON, right? From a JSON format, which is, so this is basically a map. So map of string, the key will be string, and then the value can be a dynamic value, right, of type JSON. And how is it going to do that? So have store reviews, right? So the name will be a JSON name, review, JSON review. Okay, so that's our factory constructor. Then we can also do a map towards JSON to convert it back to JSON, especially when you want to send it, maybe to your backend. So string dynamic, because it can be anything. It could be an object, it could be whatever, right? So we'll call this function to JSON, and what this function will do is to take the name as the key, and then the value will be the name, and then it will take a review key, and then the value will be review. Okay, so method will have an explicit list of parameters. Okay, so let's see. So adding a parameter list, I don't actually need to, or rather want to do that. So let's see what could be the issue here. Okay. So he said, but have an explicit list of parameters, right? So sorry, we're creating a function and we did not even add this. So okay, so this is our model for the store reviews, right? These are model for the store reviews. Now let me see if what else can we do? I want to know whether I should just move on or kind of, but let me see what we have there. So we have our constants, we have the controllers, okay, models. So screens, services, widgets. Okay, so let's see if we can, let's see if we can create the screens. Don't know if we'll have the time. I could have actually done all this before the class, but there's a reason why I want us to do it. There's a reason why I want us to do it together from scratch as a process, right? I want us to do it together in case you have probably done something like this, but you did not really, or you do not really kind of, catch it, right? You don't really grasp it, but you have done it. So I want us to do it together, right? You can ask questions and, we learn together as we go. So we'll let's see what we can do with service. What can we do? So, well, let's create a general controller, right, for the store. Okay. So we're going to have now we're not actually
Hello,
going to
can you
use
hear
it.
me?
We're not using an actual backend. Yes, Samuel, go ahead.
Well, you can hear me now. Oh,
Yes, I can
so
hear
I
you.
wanted to, sorry, I'm going to take you a little bit back. So, like the question I asked before, that's get view. So, if we use get view, there's no need for us using
What media
like any
query?
other should I say responsive this thing again, right?
That's why get view is there.
Wow. So initially, the thing is that I just started using GetX like last week, and
Okay.
sincerely, I think it has been a wonderful experience. So I never knew there was even Get View. Like I can actually use Get View for
Oh,
responsiveness, as you said it.
okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's why we are learning now. Okay. So, but are we good with this? Should I run a few explanations on this before we move? Are
Please,
we
yes,
fine?
please. Oh, although initially I've been using, when I get a JSON from, let's say, from the backend and I'm taking it from Postman, I just
Yeah,
take it directly to a JSON to that converter. Although
convert
I know
and
I
it
can actually
converts
type it out. So you just convert it directly. I just copy it and
and
just
paste.
dump it
Well,
into the model.
yeah, the thing is, it's good to understand what is going on, right? One of the things I try not to do, and me personally, is to be a half-baked developer, one who knows that okay, fine, I can carry this, but he can't really explain what the underlying works, like what is it actually doing, right? So, well, okay, let me just see if I can run this through. Right. First of all, we are leveraging this equatable. Now, equatable actually is for um, equality comparison, right? We actually use it to ensure what was it called? What was this word? Immutability, right? And comparison of objects. Okay. So let's see. Um, First of all, of course, I don't need to start explaining class definition, right? I don't need to start explaining class definition for you, but we basically just have a store review class here, right? That extends the equatable. So basically, this is just to, like I said, extending the equatable is to ensure the equality and the hash code methods. But basically, we want to ensure that they are kind of based on the properties that is defined. There's this prop libs here. Maybe you can research that one, or let me see if I have time. I'll still talk about it. But let me just run through right from the top. Now we have immutable properties that do not change, right? Which is our final properties here, which is the name and the review. So the final there is going to ensure that you can't change the review, you can't change the word's name after the object has been created. Okay, and then this is basically our constructor. And the essence is to make sure that when we create an instance of store review, right, we are ensuring that the instance is constant. And it can actually be what we call a compile time constant if the arguments are also constant. So it's basically just making sure that the instance is also constant. Now, the copy with method, right? The copy with method basically allows us to create a new instance of store review. We do not want to start connecting a backend. You understand? We're not doing any API call, but we want to be able to create a new instance of this with modified properties while still keeping other properties unchanged, right? So of course, this is very, very useful for when you're doing immutable patterns. Now here, this of course is our factory class. I've talked about factory for factory classes, right? Excuse me. But basically what we're doing here is just JSON serialization, right? So we have a from JSON factory constructor that will create an instance of store review from a JSON object. So you give it a JSON object, it will use that to create an instance of the store review. We have the to JSON, right? and it will convert an instance of a store review to a JSON object. If you want to actually send it back, right? So for this equatable, right? This is the equatable implementation. Now, this props here is actually a getter that will return a list of properties that is equatable, right? A list of properties that these are equatable uses to determine equality. So I'm going to include, I'm not going to throw any unexpected error stuff here. So I'm going to include name and review. Okay. So what this will just do, you can see it returns a list of what objects. So it will return it's going to return a list of properties that these are equatable here that we are extending. We'll use to determine the equality and hash code. I don't know if you know about hash code. So, but basically by including this name and review, what we are doing is that we are ensuring that two store review objects are considered equal if their name and their review properties are equal, then they're equal. Right? So that's basically what that actually is. Okay, so let's move on. So what did I say we want to do? Okay, so services. So we have a few minutes. Okay, that's fine. We'll still continue. I want us to take it step by step. Like I said, I could have actually just done some of these things and start explaining, but yeah, I want us to write code, make mistakes, learn debugging, and all the likes. So let's create a I'll start with which one do I start with? Let's create a service. So we're going to have three things for the purpose of this. I'm going to have a storage service. So this is storage service.dart. I'm going to have I'm going to have a repository. And I'm going to have I'll just call this a provider, but don't worry, it's not the provider you think. Okay, so let's start with the storage service, right? Let's start with the storage service. So basically what I want the storage service, remember we created a storage, right? We want to store certain things. So we want to be able to make it available when it is needed. Okay, so I'm going to say class, I'll call this storage service. And it should extend the GetX service. So GetX has almost everything you're looking for. So to extend the GetX service. So I'm going to initialize the get storage, right? But late initialization, get storage, and I'll call this box. Now, I want to initialize it, right? And of course, this stuff is something I want to initialize when I run the application. So I'm going to use a feature for this. So the feature should return a storage service. So the feature is of type storage service. So okay, and then I'll call this function init. Now, because it's a feature, I'm just going to use an async here. So before that, so in initializing, I'm going to initialize the get storage here, right? And then I'm going to await. I'm going to await box dot. We have this function called write if what null. So I'll pass in the reviews key. So what we are saying here, look, if it is null, write if what null. So what we're doing here is this write if null, right? It will write data write data on. Did this guys, do we want to take this at write data on your only if data is null? Wow, that's interesting. So it will only write a data if it is what? Null. If it is not, then you are getting an empty stuff. So I'll return this, right? So the this there is the what? Storage what? Service, right? Now I'm going to create a generic function called read of type still T, right? We talked about generics. That takes a string called key. And what it will do, it will return box.read. So it will read whatever key and then return it, right? Then I'll create a function to write. And for writing, of course, you should give me a key and a value. So the value should be dynamic because it can be anything. So a dynamic value. Now, this should be done asynchronously. So we don't kind of want anything to want this to run asynchronously. So I'll await it. Sorry. Box.write and then key and value. So these are storage service, right? This is these are storage service. Okay. So so the question is, when do we get to use it? So we're going to initialize the storage service when this main is called. So what I'll just do, I'm going to run this asynchronously also because I don't want I want to be able to get the storage and all that, but at the same time, the app should be able to also run. So no one should wait for each other per se. So I'll say I'll wait. So I'll now call get storage dot initialize. I'm going to initialize it. And then after initializing it, I'm going to await get dot. Now get also has what we call, you saw the dependency injection, the get dot put, but there's a get dot put async. So it's the asynchronous version of get dot put. So what it does is, like you can see it, I wait for the resolution of the future from the builder parameter and stores the instance that is what returned. So we're going to use the get.put async, right? And so this actually, so here it should return, we're calling the storage our storage service dot initialize. So here we're basically just initializing get storage, and then we're initializing putting our get storage in. So everything here will run. So it should, the read, it will initialize this, it will create a storage, and then it will what? Write if what? Null. Okay. So yeah. Yep. So let's see what else we can do. Right. Now let's go to our repository. Let's create a repository. I have a few minutes to go. Okay. Let me call it. So let this one be for reviews. Review repository. Right. So for the review repository, I'm going to have, let me just do something. I'm going to need something, but okay. So basically what I want to be able to do in this repository is, this is the concept of, MVVM, right? Abstraction. So I want to be able to kind of separate concerns, right? So here, let me first of all create my provider. Now, my provider is going to provide, the certain logics and stuff that I need. I'm just going to get it directly from the repository. So let's call this store provider. Now, what is store provider does? It's just a class. Now, it will get our storage service first. We're going to get our storage service. We're going to get our storage service. Okay. So we're going to now use get.put. For now, we'll use get.put. Now, get has a lot of, there's get.find, which I will show you. We'll learn later. There's get.find. This will actually basically find the instance of a class, but you must have initialized it before. So we'll get to where we'll talk about binding in get. But for now, let's just say get.put. And what do we want to put? We want to put the storage service, right? So how do we read? I want to create a function that will read reviews, right? I want to create a function that will read reviews. So it's going to be a list because they're fetching reviews. So from our store reviews, right? Did we? Okay, store reviews. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So store reviews. So our list is of type store reviews, and we'll call it read reviews. Is our function. So what do we do here? Okay, so it's saying it's not a type. Okay, I've not imported it, so yeah. Okay, so var reviews, right? So let's create an empty list of reviews, right? I'm going to create an empty list of store reviews. I'm going to create an empty list of store reviews. So this is just an empty list. Now, so let's do something. So I'm going to say JSON decode. So the JSON decode, what does it do? I pass a string and it will return an object, right? Or passing passes the string and returns the JSON object. So JSON decode. So the source is from our storage service dot read. So it will read the reviews key, which the reviews, excuse me. It will read the reviews key, which is actually a string that we created here, right? Okay, so it will read that key, and where are we? Sorry, okay, provider. So to read the reviews key, right? And then to string, that's our source, right? And then what is it going to do for each yeah, so we want to, so for each of the reviews key, right? For each of it, we want to add to our this thing lists, right? So I'll just use E. I can use anything, right? Can use anything. So for each, so E will just iterate through. I'm going to say reviews dot add. Reviews dot add. So what do we want to add? We want to add the store reviews, right? But we're not going to use, so we're not going to use this one. So we're going to say store reviews dot from JSON, and we're passing in the E there. So that's basically that. So we're going to just decode this. So to pass the string, and then to give us a JSON what object, right? So if a particular review has a key, to just give you the object. So what are we doing at the end? We just need to return reviews. Okay, so that's how you read review. Now, let's quickly create a function to write a review. So we have a list, store reviews, a list of store reviews, right? Based on the type. So this is the parameter. So where you want to write a review, you pass in a list, a reviews of type list of this. So what we do there is we call the storage service dot write, right? And you pass in the reviews key, and then the value will this time be JSON encode, which will actually convert an object back to what a string. So we'll pass in the reviews. Okay, so these are store provider. So let's now create the repository. I think that's all we may have time for. Next week on Monday, we'll now get into building the UI, right? I don't want, like I said, I can do it before now, but I want us to learn so that I don't want to assume that you have probably used all the widgets in this life, or you have used stuff. So it's good to know that you can pick up one or two things. Okay, so yeah, so let's go to our repository. So it's just going to, so for our repository, we'll need an instance of the store provider. So I'm just going to say store provider, right? Now, the reason I'm doing this, I'm creating a parameter, right? An attribute of this class. Now, what that is going to do is, and then I will now create a constructor such that when you're initializing or creating an instance rather of the review repository, you have to pass in the store provider, right? So I'm going to just say review repository. And then it should require, when you're creating that instance, you should require this dot store provider. Okay. So the only thing we want to do is just read and write reviews, right? So to read reviews, so we have store reviews, read reviews will be the name. So it's just like a function, right? We're just creating a function to read the reviews. And basically what this function is just going to do is going to call the store provider dot read reviews. That's all. Like that's just it. No, nothing else, right? So we need to import this. And then write reviews. The function to write reviews. So it takes a list, right? A reviews of type store reviews, list of store reviews rather, because we are adding to that list. So it will basically just be store provider dot write review, and then you pass in the reviews, and that's basically that. So this level of abstraction, right? Maybe I'll take time sometime next week we'll talk about MVVM, right? We'll talk about the various patterns. We have MVC, we have MVVM. I don't know which one you are proficient in, but I'll probably find time to talk about both of them so we understand those concepts. Okay, so yeah, I think that's we are basically done. There's some setup, right? Let me see. I would love to, so I would have loved for us to do some UI stuff. We have just about 10 minutes. So, okay, let me just see. I'll round up by 4:55 and then maybe just then. Samuel, go ahead.
I wanted to ask, like, I don't know, the way you structured your folder, it looks, I know it looks quite a bit sharp.
Okay, so you were
So
not when
like
I started. Sorry, hold on. Let me cut you short. When I started, you were not in the call. One of the things people are going to do, I'm not following your part of your job. I will scatter things, you arrange them. So this, I'm going to push this code to GitHub and I'll share. You guys will have access to it, right? Now, what you now do is that on your own end, you will now create a proper folder structure. That's going to be part of your task. I even tried, if I know now, I just created everything, in the lib folder and you arrange it yourself. But this is still not the best. There's a much better approach to this folder structure, but that's not for me to do. That's for you to do. I said that earlier, but I think you had not joined yet.
and sir, I want to ask, the
Yeah.
task they gave us, is actually not hard though, but the time for
What task?
the
Okay,
intermediate task.
see, it's not hard. So the earlier you do it, the better. It's not hard, like
But
I
it's
said.
ending today.
Go and do your task, young man, so that you don't go to beginner. Go and do your
Uh,
task.
it's
You
not like I
know,
cannot do that task, oh, but that time,
why do people like late things? Hmm? You're procrastinating, that's what you're doing.
we have to balance everything and we have
Yeah, there's
to
still
work.
you can still balance it. Find a way
Try
to
my best.
balance it. You understand? The truth is, in the end, I always say this: we are responsible for what we do. Nobody, whatever it is, there was nobody that put gun in your head to do Flutter. Nobody put gun in your head to do whatever it is that you were doing. So, part of responsibility means taking ownership. Too. I slept around to 5 today, right? Because there are a lot of things. Yes, during the day, I have to still toggle stuff. KodeCamp is there and everything, but at the end, at close of work, there are still other things. I cannot tell a client, you don't understand. I have things. No, no, no. There was an agreement already. So I am responsible. I am bound by my word. So it's something we all need to learn, right? Of course, you are part of a boot camp. What were you expecting? That will give you 5 years to do a task? No, it's a boot camp. If you've heard about code camp before, it can be a bit brutal in a way, right? That's what is expected. Of course, how would you feel if probably I give you a task and I allow you like 2 weeks? At some point, you will get tired and you will think that we are not serious. Understand? So get it done. I don't know. There was somebody who. Now, let me even ask quickly. How many of you know appetize? How many of you know about appetize? Appetize, rather.
I know about it. Appetizer.
Okay,
I
Collins,
just
you
found out about.
okay, just
Just
found
found out
out.
about.
So
I don't know about it too.
you didn't. Good. So it's part of the task because appetize. Well, I'm basically done. We'll probably just. So the next class we're going to. We'll now do one last setup. We'll do is the store controller, where we're going to now have some major functions and parameters, functions to create a review, add a review, and do some stuff. So just every function or every logic, rather, every logic that is needed to make the application work, we're going to add that in the next class. So for the appetize basically is a way to actually host your application and share it, right? You just build the APK and then you're able to share that link with me, and then I can see what you have actually built, right? So one of you, in the place of appetize link, the person, if you see something you don't understand, you ask questions or you research. But the person went and submitted the screenshot of the Google Drive, the screenshot. The person went and submitted that for me. I've not graded it and I've left it there. I think I mentioned the person. I don't know. I can't remember who the person is. And since that time, the person has not even like, hey, oh, sorry, sir, what do I do? And everything. That's the thing. The person will now wait for 10, after 10 days, somebody will now come back and start chatting me up. I will ignore because you had all the time in the world. So appetize.io, that's the website. right? I believe you can see my browser, right? So this is appetize.io. Okay. Don't think I have an account, but basically what you just do is just to upload. You create your, say you can upload your APK. So once you're done, if you're using Flutter, just Flutter creates or create app, right? Yeah, I think create APK, if I'm not mistaken, or Flutter create app. I kind of mix it up a bit. So once you get the APK file, right, you can just upload it. And then you see the way this is, this demo. I just clicked on play. Once I click on play, I'll see what you have actually what's built. I can interact with what you have actually what's built. I can see how it looks on iOS. You understand? I can see how it looks on iOS and all the likes, right? So this is how it looks on iOS. I can choose a device. This is just for testing. I can switch for internalization. I can switch to French, right? And all this stuff. And the question is, what will be the French version? You can see and all the likes. So yeah. So it's just for demos, right? It's actually just for demos, but it's very powerful. Like it's actually a very, very powerful tool. And it's it's free, at least for most services they offer, right? Um yeah, so I think it's, if you have the money, of course you can go the free single user, 2 active devices maximum, 30 minutes refill, which is refilled monthly, right? Starter, well, $59 a month. Okay, this when you're looking at annually. It 89 monthly. Well, so yeah, it's actually very interesting stuff to use. So that's what we're going to be using as a demo, because in as much as I'm going to see the code, I also want to see it work, right? So whoever that is, maybe you're listening to this recording, try as much as possible to reach out to me quickly, right? So when you click on demo, you just, from here, when you click on try online demo, click on demo, you can see upload your app. So it will take you here. So for iOS, you can upload a zip or a tar.js file with the app bundle. There's detailed instructions. This for Android. So you just drag and drop, add this, and then to generate what's link, they'll send you a link, right? And then with that link, you can share that. They have an app recorder. They have network logs. You can enable it to see network logs of the app, even debug logs. You can inspect your device, right? It's actually very powerful stuff. There are a lot of phone versions you can use to check iOS version, orientation, landscape, right? App recorder, network logs, and all the stuff. So yeah, so hurry up, submit your intermediate tasks, and let me know the people that I'm working with. Okay. Final question. Collins, go
It's
ahead.
Collins. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I have a question and I have one complaint. The question
Okay.
is the question is beginning of the class you said something about get router management, right?
Router management, yes.
Yes, with GetX now. I want to
Yeah.
ask, most times with the navigator or the normal one I use, navigator, I can configure my app for deep linking.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So deep linking, I can configure my app for deep linking on Android and iOS such that they say when the user clicks on the link that is not from the app, the thing can open the app and go to that exact screen or
Yeah.
page where the content is. I don't know
Yeah.
if you can still do that with the Get alternative of route management. Like, does that work?
Okay. So you can actually use, of course, definitely, you can use GetX for deep linking, right? See, GetX actually is very powerful. Like, and we'll get to use it, right? You just to set it up, you first of all you have to get your one of the things you do is to get your routes. We'll configure routes.
Mm.
After configuring routes, you update your main file, your run or this in this case our home file. We're going to do that in the next class, such that we can have initial routes and all the routes there. Then to handle deep links,
Yeah.
actually, right? It's basically still, you can use what we call parameters. You can actually have a particular parameter that you use for that, but we'll do it. We'll basically just do it. We set it up. There's
Okay.
for Android, there's actually a command, right? What was it called? I cannot even remember. But we have to do a shell command, right? And an intent from all this stuff. You can even configure for iOS too, and all the stuff. And then all you have to do is just handle query parameters and all that. So we'll do a test run, right? So just
Okay.
now that you've brought it up, try to remind me. Let me just factor that into what I have. So we can just do a test run on deep linking.
Okay. Okay. And sorry, my complaint is when I submitted my task yesterday, but like for some reason my Google Doc wasn't like working on my phone. So instead I uploaded the picture and the PDF. I put it on Google Drive and sent the Google Drive link in place of the Google Doc link. I don't know if if that for the grid task. So see what I'm talking about.
Why?
Did you
Wait,
get
hold
that?
on. Hold on. Are you trying to say that you have submitted your intermediate task?
Yes, I have, but like in place of the Google Doc link now for the grid part of the task,
Okay, but it's
my
okay
Google Docs wasn't working.
on your phone. What
It
happened
wasn't
to your
working
what happened to
exactly.
your what happened to your laptop?
I don't know. Maybe it was my laptop is actually quite underpowered, so I don't use it for most of these things except when there is light. So, but like what I'm saying is, in place of the Google Doc
I get
link,
what
I
you're
put
saying.
in.
I get what you're saying.
Okay,
Uh
okay.
uh doc is doc, oh, drive is drive.
But
Well,
the screenshot and the PDF of the grid profile is in the
no,
Google
it's fine.
Drive.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay,
Okay, so
okay.
yeah,
All
no
right.
problem. No problem.
And sir,
Um,
I want to ask something.
yes, go
I
ahead.
don't know if this will be allowed. It's like to foster collaboration for this
What?
what's it called? Um, for this new task that this intermediate task, can we work in a group whereby like
No,
no,
no. That's not the essence of it, the group of the this thing. It's not the essence of it. It's not a group, it's not a group, it's not wait. Did you say group task?
immediate task, because of the
Is a
time,
test. It's a test to test you. It is
okay,
not
the
something you do in
ability
a group. Yes, it's a test. That's why it's called intermediate test. It's a test to
okay
know if you are up for being
to
intermediate or you should go back to beginner and get the basics. So it's not a group work. And the truth is, if you can't do group work, see, I like to tell people you're only doing yourself, not me. Because yes, you do the group work, you pass. But the truth is, what you don't know, right? All you've just done is you've just covered up just because let me not go beginner, because people feel beginner is downgrading, but it's not about that. So it's a test. You test yourself to be sure that, oh, I am actually worthy to be in intermediate. So it's not a group work. There's nothing that is group work here. Okay. So yeah, I think that's that. So thank you guys for today. I hope you have learned a lot. Right. So we're going to meet on Monday. But for those of you who have submitted, I'll check. And if you ace it, I'll promote you. But there's also another task waiting for you. Just do that. And that task is going to be dropped this night. So good luck and have a wonderful day.